I am but a Viking on the sea, in search of my Iceland that I'm not sure exists, but here we are, and we keep going, Skull. My guest on this episode of Passing the Torch is an American singer-songwriter from Slapout, Alabama. After spending several years as an unsigned musician, she finished in fourth place on the 13th season of American Idol. Her debut album, What's So Hard About Being a Man, was self-released in 2011, 3 years before she gained national exposure on reality television. While competing on American Idol, she became the first person in the history of the series to perform an original song during the finals. Her second album, Half-Hearted, was released on August 3rd, 2018 through Warrior Records. Without further ado, Passing the Torch with Jessica Muse starts now. How was that intro?
Where did you find my Wikipedia page? Okay.
Yeah, that's where I got that. That's copy and pasted. But and then I checked out your Twitch, your Instagram, your Facebook, Muse Mafia.
Yep. They name themselves.
Yeah. So which we'll get to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, just thank you. Like this means a lot to me. And we connected yesterday through Travis Wilson, but you were super excited about being on my podcast, and I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't been on one in a long time, so it's nice to be back in the game, I guess.
So I want to start off by asking, I was checking out your Instagram, and I'm probably not saying this right because I'm from Oklahoma and I don't speak Latin, but
okay.
You have Memento, Mori,
yep.
Memento, Vivere.
Vivere. I mean, I don't speak Latin. I read things, but it means, you're about to ask me what it means, right?
Well, no, I was going to ask, like, what resonates with you from that quote?
Because there are a lot of people of all ages who I think they're living, but they're not alive. Like, there's people who are even younger than me, and they've already been dead for like 10 years. So you have to live the most that you can.
Happy early birthday, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. You're going to be 24?
34.
I know. Yeah. No. Say that again. There's already people who've been dead for 10 years, but they're still...
Or more, yeah. And it doesn't matter what your age is. It's like, what do you do with your life?
Yeah.
So that's why I really like that quote. And that's also, I've always been one of those types of people that looks for a bigger purpose in everything I do. And what's the big picture?
What's your big purpose and big picture right now?
I don't know. I just know that I have to do more. And the whole be the change you wish to see in the world, be the person that you needed when you were a kid. Like all of those things that's sort of my mission in life. But I don't know my purpose by any means.
Yeah. No, so I also saw on your Instagram that I had to write this down, is an INFJ? J. So I put, yeah. Okay, INFJ. I saw that you're an INFJ-A personality trait. I then used that research to use ChatGPT to ask, like, hey, what are deep questions to ask?
Oh, okay.
This type of personality type. I'm not going to ask all the questions, but are you ready for one of them?
I guess so.
Yeah. How do you balance your desire to help others with the need to take care of your own emotional well-being?
Healthy boundaries is a huge one. And I've learned that the hard way, because as a musician and someone who's oftentimes in the public eye, which is heavily judged, and people are always telling you how to live your life, like I've had to really establish, for me, like not burning out. So boundaries for myself, saying, okay, well, like I've been here at this conference doing extroverted things all week. And then Sunday when I get home, I'm like not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
So I have to balance those things and have boundaries with myself, but also really big boundaries with people around me, because also being in the public eye, there's a lot of people who you're not a person to them. You're more of a thing. And they like to be able to say they're your friend or that they've dated you or whatever it may be. But you have to, it's just basically like, it's not about quantity, it's quality. So I have like 2 really, really close best friends, and that's all I need. But they know everything about me, and I try not to overshare with other people if there's no purpose behind it. So yeah, boundaries is probably it for me.
So what do you feel like you've gotten better at saying no to? Because that's something I struggle with, is setting boundaries. I'm getting better. I'm about to be 43, but I still struggle. But yeah, what have you gotten better at saying no to?
A lot of things. Like, I never saw myself as a people pleaser, but actually one of my best friends was like, no, Jess, you do like to make people happy. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. Because as a musician, that's part of what I do, is I help people. I sometimes heal people. It's depending on how it resonates with them. But I think it's just been saying no when I'm too tired or turning something down, saying like, no, I need a mental health day or whatever I want to call it. But I've gotten pretty good at saying no in the last probably 2 years, and I don't budge. Like, someone's, oh, come on. I'm like, no. And you can't make me.
So, okay, I want to use that because talk about 2023. Is that, and you referenced just now about the last 2 years,
Right.
but what was so significant about the actual year 2023?
I had some traumatic events happen in my personal life that kind of left me high and dry, and I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to navigate this? And a lot of times when you, I guess, hit rock bottom, you're like, I don't see the upside to any of this. Like, you get tired at a certain point. I know I do. When you just feel like you've been curb stomped by life and it won't stop. It's like, can I just get a freaking break? And that's kind of what 2023 did to me. But I had to pull myself out of it and say, okay, feelings are temporary and you can't change the situation if you don't make a change. So I was like, what are my options? What can I do to make this situation better? How can I improve myself and look at myself? So like, I'm really into psychology.
Mhm.
I like shadow work. So where am I messing up, or what am I doing wrong? What are the ugly parts of myself that I can look at and at least start to acknowledge and understand? So yeah, I guess that's, yeah.
What's shadow work? I've never heard of that.
Okay, so Carl Jung, he worked alongside Freud in a lot of areas, but they also didn't agree on some things. So, like with Freud, everything was sex. He's just a weird guy. But not to say he's incorrect, there's a ton of ideas there. But Jung went in a different direction where he was talking, he created Jungian psychology. So we had the archetypes. I believe that's where the INFJ and all of those different personality types come from. But shadow work is Jungian, and it's looking at the deepest, darkest, ugliest, terrible parts of yourself, even though it makes you insanely uncomfortable, and acknowledging them, working through them. I guess in a way, it's like cognitive behavioral therapy that you do to yourself. That's really cool. But a lot of people, your ego gets in the way, and the ego's Freud. But your ego will get in the way, and you're like, no, I don't want to be accountable for this shitty part of me. Because it's scary. You have to change yourself, and you are the person you know the longest. So,
That's good. And I like that. You're the person you know the longest.
hey, you have to live with yourself. That's why you have to figure out how you want to live.
So we talked about the past 2 years, 2023 specifically. How do you want to live in 2025?
Well, I'm joining the Coast Guard. That's one big change.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when I don't know what to do with myself, something that's always helped me to work through it and figure out what path I need to take is to help other people. So whether it's playing a fundraiser with my music or getting involved in the community somehow, like I've volunteered at the humane shelter where I lived before, and I always feel like that's the right thing to do. And I've never regretted it. So that's another reason I'm looking at Coast Guard. I'm like, I get to actually help people and do something important. And I don't need to sit there and post all about it and promote and bust my ass to be like, hey, look at me, so I can try to stay relevant and like manage my own, like my music career. No, I'm just going to be out there helping people. And I think that's always the right thing to do.
That's amazing. So what makes you want to serve? Like what was there something specific that you felt compelled, or what's driving this?
Well, my mom worked for the VA for her entire career, and I was kind of around it a lot, and I would hear stories. I remember being a little kid, and I always thought like joining the military was a scary thing. It meant you were gonna go to war automatically and get shot and die. Because I didn't know. My world was so small. I was a child. But as I got older, like I went to college, I did ROTC for a year. That was fun. It was Army ROTC. I actually enjoyed that class a lot. But then I started with my music. I branched out into the nonprofit world and started working a lot with veteran causes, which that just happened. It's just like a magnet thing. And then I actually had my first real job at Lone Survivor Foundation.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've just always kind of, like I said, it's like a magnet.
Do you have any funny stories from your time in ROTC?
Oh, yeah. So I was a civilian. So when they got smoked, I didn't have to do anything because I wasn't signed on. So we were doing land nav, and I usually was really quick at it, and I was good at it. But one time I made a mistake, and they all had to do push-ups.
Mm.
I was like, I'm sorry. But I knew in their heads, they were like, I hate her. I hate her so much. I was just sitting there chilling.
What college was this?
That was at UAB, Birmingham.
Okay.
Yep, that's where I got my degree.
Nice. So let's talk about how does someone from Slapout, Alabama end up, and is it Slapout or
It's Slapout.
or Holtville?
So it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just such a small town that it shares a post office. It's also Deatsville. So my home address was also Deatsville. But Holtville is pretty much just the name of the school, I guess. But everyone knows what you mean when you say Slapout. But if you look at a map or if you type in Slapout, it doesn't pull up anywhere. But the town is called Slapout. There's a sign in the bushes that's like not even a foot long, and it says Slapout on it.
What's the story behind that name?
So there are 2 gas stations in the center of the town, which is not a big town. And for whatever reason, they got nicknamed the girls' store and the boys' store. I don't know. Everybody of all genders went there, so it wasn't like it was, oh, only girls go here, whatever. But the boys' store was like it's a gas station and a convenience store and has groceries and stuff, kind of all in one stop. But there was an old man who used to own it, and he was always there. And I guess when he was out of stuff, he would say, "Oh no, I'm slap out of that." And then somebody was like, "Haha, that's hilarious. Let's name the town that."
I love it. It seems like the perfect like Southern thing.
It is pretty southern.
Yeah.
It's as southern as it gets.
So, kind of transitioning or just going back to what was your curiosity as a kid?
What do you mean curiosity?
What was like your childhood curiosity? What were the things you were interested in, and what just want to dig deeper in that.
I loved animals, and I loved to draw. I loved to be outside. I would remember cassette tapes.
Yeah, of course.
So I used to wait until certain songs would come on the radio, and I would have this little crappy machine to record it, and I would hold the little microphone up to it and record over whatever was on the cassette. I'm sure I destroyed a lot of pretty decent cassette tapes by doing that, but it was basically so I created the first iPod. And then Apple stole my idea. But yeah, so I guess, I don't know, I was quirky, I was weird. I got older and got into like video games and stuff. I love to read. I figured out how to read by myself before I think I was in like, I just remember being in like either kindergarten or first grade, and I just every day we would have like playtime or whatever you would call it. And I would sit in the corner and I was looking at books. I was like, I'm going to figure out what that says. And then one day I could read, and I remember losing my mind, and I just started reading all the time.
What was like the first book you remember reading?
Call of the Wild by Jack London, which is a very mature book for a child.
How old were you?
I don't remember. I was so little. I was really young. And then my mom was like, there's something different about you, because she said I would go home and like recite the entire book to her and have all these crazy details and the stories about Buck the dog and all that. And she was like, how do you remember that? Because it's a very big story. And White Fang. I love Jack London because wolves are my favorite animal. So I always read Jack London stuff. But yeah, I was just a weird kid. Now I'm just a weird adult.
Were you bullied as a kid?
Absolutely. I was tormented, especially as I got kind of nerdier and I played video games and stuff. And I was kind of awkward. I was a little bit chubby. I was behind my peers, even though I was kind of a little bit older, but I was also always the new kid everywhere we went. So it's kind of hit or miss with that. But for me, it ended up, usually I was just heavily bullied.
Was there like a moment or a time where, because when did you, I think I read that you started singing around age 10, is that right?
In public.
In public, okay.
Yeah.
So was there kind of like this this moment you're like, you showed them, I guess, where you sang at some, like, was there like a talent show or anything, or?
Yeah, actually, I used to live in Florida. I was there for 3 years maybe. But I was bullied so much and I was such a victim too, which I was a child. I didn't know. But I would cry because I was like, why is everyone so mean to me? I just want to like have friends and have fun. But um what was the question? I just spaced out.
No, so was there like an empowering moment, like when you were
Oh,
bullied, and then was
yes.
there like a specific like
Yes.
empowering moment where you're just like, yes?
So I got pulled out of most of the schools that I went to in Florida, and ultimately I ended up in a Catholic private school.
It's fitting.
Yeah, totally. I'm not Catholic. And it was very odd. I was bullied even heavier actually because I wasn't Catholic. And I kind of realized I didn't like organized religion very much at
Mhm.
that point because it was so alienating. Like I couldn't be part of communion or anything with anyone because I wasn't Catholic. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, cool. I guess I'll just sit over here by myself and watch you all drink grape juice. But they had a talent show and I did the audition for it. And I remember I was absolutely terrified and my hands went numb when I was holding the microphone. And I had such stage fright. I thought I was going to faint. I really did. Oh my God, I was so terrified. Like I felt it in every cell of my body. I still remember how it felt. And I covered my face and I'm crying and I'm trying to sing these words to this song. And then I started laughing like a maniac because I was like, oh my God, I look so stupid right now. And they let me into the show, even though that was my audition. So then I finally sang at the show and I was still had a lot of stage fright, but like I didn't cry and laugh at myself like a crazy person. And I did well enough that people were like, oh, Jess can sing. What's up with that? And that was really the first time I was like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Okay. That was the first time I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, that's real. You couldn't just be nice.
Yeah.
You have to be like, oh, she's good at something. Oh, now I want to be her friend. Or what can I get from her? Which I realize has changed in the world. But I think that was the first instance of that. And then, of course, it kind of exponentially changed into the American Idol thing.
Yeah.
And then people really came out of the woodwork. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like people were saying, I have so many cousins I didn't know existed. I literally had people messaging me saying, I don't know if you know this, but I'm your cousin and blah, blah, blah.
Come
And
on
I
my
was like,
podcast.
yeah. Hey, do you want to be on my podcast? But no, it was the people who were mean to me in high school and like flung food at me and told me to kill myself and that I was stupid. They sent me friend requests. And, you know, I just went through and I was like, delete, delete, delete. And that was the best feeling ever because I was like, I remember after I got home from tour and I had picked up running on tour to kind of explore the places that we went to with Idol. And I would run all the trails and it became a way for me to lose some of the weight from the show because all they do is fucking feed you. I swear to God, they're like, here, have some French fries. You want some more cheeseburgers? But I got some running shoes and I went to Hibbett Sports and there was a guy from high school working there. Big dreams. And I remember he was like, oh, Jess Muse, I remember you were so good on Idol and we're so proud of you. You really put Slapout on the map, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, said his name. I was like, you were mean to me in high school. I need a size 8.5.
And
That was it.
cheeseburger and fries.
Oh, yeah, and some fries. Maybe a milkshake. But yeah, but I mean, it does come full circle. And that's also taught me though that like while revenge is sweet, yeah, cool, whatever, but like I'm never gonna be an asshole. Like I was like, just give me my shoes, please.
So if there was someone, we'll say like a 10-year-old girl right now or a 10-year-old boy experiencing the same exact feelings or all the things, what would you say to those kids right now? Or if you could go back in time travel and speak to your 10-year-old self, like what advice would you give?
I would probably say that those people don't matter. That you will find your tribe and you will find the people who actually give a shit about you for who you are. And that people who are completely ordinary, like that's fine and all, and maybe they're happy with that, but they don't do extraordinary things. So I feel like some of the weirdos and the nerds and the people who get picked on, like if you're different like that and you kind of get scrutinized under the magnifying glass, and Yeah, I just feel like those are the people that go on to do really big things a lot of the time.
How has music helped you find your tribe? And I guess the second part of that question would be, do you think there's a beauty with music to where it bridges? You talked about being alienated earlier when you were going to Catholic school.
Yep.
Can music, is it one of those things that can bridge all those divides?
Yeah, it transcends everything.
Yeah.
Music is one of those, it's like a weird universal language, I think. And it connects with people beyond the words. Like it evokes actual feelings. And it's kind of magical, really. Because I know probably not everyone feels that way, but I know for me, if I hear a song like that's really deep and really sad, it can bring me to tears. And I think that is a power that if you have it, you should be careful what you do with it and hopefully use it for good and try to spread a positive message. And that's what I try to do. Like even my little angsty, I got cheated on, I don't like you songs. It's not about being a victim. It's not about sitting at home and crying. It's about picking your ass back up and getting back out there and moving forward. So if you listen, it's kind of like reading in between the lines. That's actually what most of my songs are about, is you pick yourself back up.
Mm.
So.
No, that's good. I want to go also talk about the Jack London. If Jack London were to write a book about you, what would the name of that book be? And what would the story be about?
Man, I feel like my life is a story.
It is.
I need to write a book for real, but I feel like it's not at a point where I'm at a stopping point. The book it would be ongoing. But what would it be called? I don't know that I've ever really thought of that. And I'm not sure what I would call it because I will have to think about that.
No, it's fine. It was just when you were talking about that, it seemed kind of like an interesting point, you know? And,
Yeah.
And just for you at an early age to read those types of books, and it just makes you unique, you know? And I wonder like how that shaped you. You know, like there's things that we do as kids that,
Right.
you know, that shape and all that stuff. Also, I was thinking about your own life. If there could be a moment from your life that someone else narrates, what's the moment that you would like to hear the narration of, and who would you want to narrate it?
Well, Morgan Freeman.
Sorry, I should have yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
Of course.
He's also the voice at the Birmingham airport that I'll be at tomorrow, so that's really funny. He's like, I was always, is that Morgan Freeman?
God?
Yeah, Lord. But it's Morgan Freeman. But what's the question again? Sorry.
Just about your own life. If there's a moment in your life that
yes.
Yeah.
So I think it would be really funny if somebody had actually narrated when I had been on The Voice, because I was so young and naive, and it was my first time in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, and doing this TV thing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna make it. And then Morgan Freeman would be like, she wasn't going to make it.
Bless her heart.
Yeah.
You're from Alabama, so bless her heart.
Yeah, bless it. But then it would continue to be like, but you can't let that get you down because it was actually an unanswered prayer. And I didn't know that at the time. I was devastated. That crushed me. All I'd ever wanted. I was like, I want to be a famous singer. I want to be a famous musician. And I thought that's what I wanted. I really did. And when I got out there, I just turned 21. So I was like, yay, alcohol. And I'm in Hollywood. I'm getting that TV money. There's like attractive people all around me. It's very different than Slapout. And when I didn't make it, I just felt eviscerated. I just felt completely done. And I thought maybe I would quit, but I can't quit. I can't quit anything I start. I just don't have that bone in me. And if I had only known that it's like the plans you have for yourself, they don't usually happen, you know, and you can't worry about it. And it's kind of like there's always a bigger picture, and you never know what's about to happen. I got scouted for American Idol. I did my audition. Then I got top 4 the very next year. And if I had been aired on The Voice, whether or not I made the team, if they had shown me, I would have been stuck under a reality hold in the contract. And I probably would have lost a lot of my songs because that contract sort of sucks. And even though it completely broke my heart and I was like so sad about it, the very next year I got top 4 on Idol. And I was like, if I had only known how much fun that was waiting just right past that. Like, it's almost like you have to fail at certain things to get where you need to go. You're supposed to fail.
That's good.
It's true.
That's good. No,
it's
that's
super
really, really
true.
good.
So now when I fail at things, I'm like, all right, well, that's not it. And I usually, I can get disheartened still. It can bum me out because, like, if you want something, you want something. We have worldly attachments. It's very normal, the human condition. But I have to look at it like, well, I remember this has happened to me before, and I'll just try this way now. It's like you find out 999 ways of how not to do something. And then that 1000th time, you can't stop digging for the gold and because you haven't found it. And then you realize, oh shit, I was 3 feet away from it the whole time. So you just have to keep going.
That is so good.
Well, I always say you only fail when you stop.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, like, that would be a failure when you stop.
Yeah.
There's a difference between failing and failure.
Yeah, you need to fail. But if you actually just quit, you're never going to get it. It's kind of like if you're too scared to ask, the answer will always be no. There's so many sayings for that.
No, that's really good.
I'm glad it's really good because I am mentally exhausted right now, and I'm like, words are so hard.
I'll get to some lighter questions.
You're good, yeah.
There's such a great story with you, and I just want to help share that. And yeah, and you just have like this aura about you too.
Do I?
Yeah.
What aura?
I was gonna make an Alabama joke, but
oh, jeez.
No. There's just something, like, there's a vibe.
Okay.
And I know that's a very popular term or phrase or way to describe people, but it's just very, because even I didn't really recognize you at first last night, but just when you walked into the mixer with the Dallas Alexander, I guess we'll call it a concert or whatever, but like you just walking around, like there was just a certain energy and a buzz about you, and it's like in my mind I'm thinking, like, man, who is this chick, right? Like there's just something about you. And then Travis is talking to me, and he was like, oh yeah, I want to introduce you to Jessica Muse. And I was like, that name sounds familiar. I'm like, oh, she was on American. And I was like, holy smokes, man. Yeah,
that's cool.
Do you still post I saw something on your Twitter, or excuse me, X now, but do you still post like, was there like a rejection letter or something, or is there something that you post every year?
Okay, yeah, I always have people who maybe they don't remember me from Idol, or they don't know me that way. Like that's not why they follow my journey. It's because of TV. So the people who don't know about Idol, they usually are like, hey, have you ever tried auditioning for The Voice? You should audition for The Voice. And I'm like, you have no idea. So for shits and giggles, I pretty much audition. If I'm around and I have time to do it, every single year, at least once when they do the virtual open call, I will audition. 2 times I've gotten callbacks. One time I was in LA and I actually went in and did a whole interview and stuff. But it ultimately always ends up, I get an email that's like, we're sorry, we've decided not to move forward with you. So I screenshot it and I post it, and I'm like, okay, stop asking me. It sucks. I don't want to be on reality TV anymore. It's not. I mean, it was fun. It had its place, and I'm very grateful for it. It was a great experience. I met a lot of amazing people who are still my friends today. But I don't want to do it. It's not real.
Speaking of real, what do you want out of your time in the military?
What about my time in the military?
What do you like? What do you? What do you want from it?
I really just want a career that is doing good things, and if there are things within the Coast Guard that I think need to be changed, if that comes up, because I know there's a lot I have to learn. But if there's things I don't like, then hopefully I can be a catalyst for change in a positive way. I know, like, across all branches, there are, sexual harassment issues and things. And I really hope that I can get involved with helping people through situations like that and do something good. And I also would like to go back to school at some point. So I have my undergrad in psychology. And for a while, I was thinking about getting like a double undergrad and go do the pre-health track and then go to med school, but I'm kind of thinking maybe like a counseling degree, so a master's.
Nice.
Because I can always go back and try for a PhD, but if I'm in the Coast Guard, I can get a little bit of assistance, hopefully, because student loan debt sucks. And yeah, just always be learning, try to be a positive influence. Like, I know I'm going to be one of the oldest people at boot camp. They're probably going to call me grandma. But I also realize the power that has, in that I can be an influence on younger women.
100%. Exactly right.
Yeah.
A pillar and a beacon and all that stuff. That one of the things that, the military is not without its flaws. And I've been in for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I love about the military is just opportunity. And sometimes, even kind of like you mentioned about you didn't get picked up on a voice, years ago. And then it led to American Idol a year later.
Right.
We don't see it, and then it's like, oh man, like what this golden opportunity. All right, I have some lighter questions.
Okay.
I'm going to do a name game. I'm just going to say a name.
Okay.
So whether it's one word or a few words, just whatever comes to mind. Dr. Julie DeCharm.
Oh, I love Julie. She's awesome. Do you know Julie?
No.
Oh, well, I met a lot of friends.
I just researched you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Travis introduced me to her. She's just a really sweet person. She like rented a private jet or something and came to see my show in Arizona one time. I was like, who does that? She really has always believed in me. Her and her husband Josh are really good friends of mine. Her kids are super cool. Like, they make you feel like part of the family.
That's cool.
But I met them because of Travis.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The next name I have is Travis Wilson.
My Green Beret friend. He's my favorite Green Beret.
Mine too.
Yeah, he's my fave.
He introduced us. Muse Mafia.
Oh, my fans. I love them so much. And I don't know that they realize, like, as an artist and a person who is heavily involved with social media, people tend to see all the good things. And I've been very vulnerable and open, like, hey, I'm a human being. I have shit days too. Yeah. And I know that my fans realize that, and I try to just be aware of all of that. But they have picked me up on days where I didn't believe in myself. So my fans are awesome. Sometimes they're scary. They name themselves.
No, that's great.
Yeah, they were initially the Muses, because I was doing a play on words with my last name, because people tend to not be able to pronounce it or spell it. But I was like, just say Muse, like the rock band. So I went into Greek mythology, and there's the muses that inspire you. Ah. And they inspire me, so I made it like the other way around. And then they, all of a sudden, trending on Twitter at the time, it was hashtag Muse Mafia. And I was like, what? They named themselves collectively the Muse Mafia.
Hopefully this episode, you'll inspire them with this episode.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, so if people haven't heard me sing, I automatically say if Stevie Nicks and Janis Joplin had a baby, that is what I sound like. Minus all the drugs. And yeah. I don't drink that much whiskey.
Man, that's so good.
Yeah, that's what I sound like, though.
No, I love it. It's you have a great voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was watching actually Blue-Eyed Lie.
Okay. Is that the next word?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I sang that for my American Idol audition. It was actually here in Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah, it was here. And I was the last person to get called that day. So I'm in a room of mostly younger kids. And I was 22, I think. Yeah, I hadn't turned 23 yet. I was 23 on the show. But I'm an introvert. And everyone around me is like, la 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 la, and I'm like, shut up. They would not be quiet. It was all day in a holding room of like 400 people, 500 people, and they're just like singing and yelling and screaming, and they won't sit down. And I was like, oh my God, I want to go home. So I didn't know what I was gonna sing, because the day before I had been out at Warped Tour and I had a set, and it was really hot. And I was exhausted from being out in the sun all day, and I had played a gig, and then I watched all the little punk rock concerts and stuff. So I was pretty exhausted and peopled out at that time. And I went in to sing my song, and I was like, well, I don't know what else to sing, so I'm just going to sing one of my songs, because then if you don't like me, at least it's because of my own shit.
No, I love it. Do you have any cool stories from that audition day? Like, did you meet? Were you just randomly talking to someone and they went on to do very well in the competition?
Actually, the guy that won my season was one of those people singing who wouldn't shut up.
No names, but
It's Caleb. I love Caleb. No, he's one of those people that no matter what he says, you're guaranteed to laugh and it's gonna hurt. Like I always have like an ab workout after hanging out with Caleb because that dude is so funny. God, he's so funny. Like I miss how much I laughed when we were all hanging out as a group because you become like a weird little family. The whole top 10 gets really close.
yeah.
And it's like you have your wayward ones that some of them get a little bit too into the devil's lettuce and things like
You
that.
say the devil's lettuce?
Yeah, the devil's lettuce.
I've never heard that.
They get too into it and you're like
Devil's lettuce.
like we were on tour and I'm not going to say their names cuz one of them's grown up a lot and he's actually a good friend now, better than he was back then. He used to annoy the shit out of me, I'm not going to lie. Like I unfollowed him and stuff cuz I was like, ugh, he's so annoying. But he and this other guy, they got so high that while they were singing at the freaking show with like thousands of people in this arena, they forgot the words. They blanked out and they just looked at each other and smiled on stage. And I was like, oh my God, these people paid to see you and you're fucking it up.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like a mom a lot. Like we all got stuck in Detroit, flying out to rehearsal, and it was Binghamton, New York was where the first show was. So we put the whole concert together in like 2 weeks up in Binghamton. But everyone was lost and running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And I was like, all right, let me get on the text with the travel people from Idol. And then I rounded up all the American Idol people and we got a hotel and I distributed the keys. And I was like, wow, I didn't ask to be a mom, but here we are.
That might be the name of this podcast episode. It's the devil's lettuce.
Sure.
I've never heard of that. So
I think I saw it on a movie once. I don't remember which one. You really haven't heard that?
I don't think so.
Oh, I've heard that a lot.
All right. When you think of a movie image that depicts leadership, who or what comes to mind? And it doesn't have to be a military movie, but
Interstellar.
okay. What about it?
First of all, it is my favorite movie because I love outer space and black holes and Matthew McConaughey. But he gave up everything because it was for the greater good and it was for the human race. It was for every single person everywhere with no discrimination whatsoever. He just wanted to help. So I think that's a lot of leadership.
Yeah, that's great. He and I have the same birthday.
Really?
Oh.
All right.
Yeah, November 4th. All right. If you were to write a crush letter to one Netflix character, who would it be?
The character or the actor?
Actually, I already know your answer
because I can. It's going to be the same. It's Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher because it's Henry Cavill, obviously.
Yeah, as soon as I ask that, like she's gonna say.
I'm gonna say Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
100%.
Last question: if there was a giant billboard with your picture on it and message for the world to see, what would your billboard say, and where would it be?
I would probably. I think. Where would it be?
Yeah.
Well, I would put a quote on it. It would be I believe it's Steve Jobs. And I used it in my Coast Guard officer application that I'm resubmitting for the second time. And it says that the person who's crazy enough to believe that they can change the world is usually the person who does. So, I mean, if my face catches the attention of whoever wants to look at my face, which would be so awkward for me, if it makes them read that quote, then maybe it would make people realize that they can always do more instead of just be living. Like what we were talking about in the beginning. You have to actually be alive.
Do you have any parting shots or parting thoughts or anything you want to share with people?
Just be your weird self. All the right people will find you and stick with you. And people come and go, things come and go. Stuff doesn't matter. Arguments, fights, you're going to miss out on stuff, but it's It's not what you do in life, it's who's with you. So just love people and don't be a dick. Yeah.
I have a gift. One last thing.
Okay.
So, do you know how much have you researched about the military?
Quite a bit. Like I think I have an idea of what it might be now.
So I want to give you my
Really?
coin, like,
I
and it's
thought about it.
and it's like, and it's just my
Wow.
personal coin, but
Oh my God, that's so cool.
yeah. So
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So thank you for volunteering to serve our country.
Thank you.
And when you
That's
don't have to, you know, and you've had this cool life outside before the military, outside of the military,
Yeah.
but the fact that you're choosing to sacrifice for our country, yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I know many others do as well. So from me to
thank you.
And the MF doesn't necessarily mean Martin Foster. It can mean it can mean another
That's great.
MF, phrase, but. Jessica, thank you so much. This means a lot to me.
Thank you. Heck yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. That's it.
That's sick. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.